Ta-da! All right, so welcome to the cutting and clearing tutorial with Aunt Carla from Marie Lazo. That's me. If you're here today on this call, you already know who I am, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the introduction. But if you're looking for me, you can find me, no problem. What's most important is you. This is you. And in the last tutorial I did on vision boards, I said that you are the magician and you have a power within you that enables you to, hold on. Sorry, see my mess. You have a power within you that enables you to create your own magic, create your own future. You are not at the mercy of fate. So what I'll be sharing today are just different tools that you can use to help you manifest your goals for 2021 and beyond. But remember always, you are the one that holds the power. And this magician card from the tarot is the perfect example. Magician means that you're using your hands, your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, your ideas, your intent. This is what fuels everything that we do. So this is the cutting and clearing class. So I found this graphic, kaboom, because sometimes some things we need to cut out of our lives and some things we need to like blow it the F out. And this is going to be hopefully a very powerful tutorial class today, because I'm going to show you different methods, different spiritual, magical methods that will help you get your, to get things out of your way. So then when it comes to the different blocks that get in our way of manifesting, some of them, actually most of them tend to be internal, meaning they're coming from within us, and then some are external. When it comes to, internally, it's our self-doubt, like we're talking to ourselves like, oh no, you can't do that, who do you think you are, like those internal conversations that we have that prevent us from really going for the thing that we want. There's inertia, the desire to remain unchanged, like, you know what, I could go and start running today if I wanted to, but I don't want to. It's not a laziness thing, it's just kind of like, things are good right now, I'm really just not interested in starting. Although I really want this thing, it's going to take a transformation of, at least on a smaller level, for you to, to get your energy going. And it's easier to be in motion when you're already in motion. But if you're not in motion, you're kind of like, I'm good where I am. And, that is fine. But we're going to be talking about how to get over that as well. Shadows, there's shadow work that we all need to do. Shadows are the things that are about us, within us, that that help us, not help us, but they get in our own way. These are our own shadows are the things that, how they manifest in, when we get in our own way, when we say we want to do something but we do something totally different. Yeah, Nick, geez, I'm totally too comfortable. Exactly, you're just comfortable and you're like, yeah, I could do that, but and sometimes we need that little extra pep push, and thankfully we can have some magical tips and tricks on how to get over that. And so shadows and self-sabotage are kind of similar, because we may self-sabotage. We might say, okay, yeah, I'm going to go and do this thing, but I decide to sleep in late, or I decide to get some ice cream instead of going to the gym. And sometimes the self-sabotage comes from shadows, or maybe they're all kind of these different internal reasons, are kind of all related. But these are the ways that internally we block our blessings. And on the external side of things, we might be surrounded by unsupportive or negative friends and family members, frenemies, or we might have things like cross conditions, like things just aren't working right and we don't know why. We might feel like it's a string of bad luck, or we're trying to make something happen. We're like, okay, I'm going to start this side job, I'm going to start my side hustle, but then my boss at work all of a sudden gives me this big amount of gives me this new assignment, and now I'm exhausted. Or I'm starting this paper route and then my car breaks down, or I don't need, that's maybe not the best example, but you get the idea. Like you have like all of these different external obstacles and you're like, I don't know why this is happening. I really want to do this stuff, but there seem to be forces outside of my control. So while these things may feel they are outside of your control, there are still things that we can do to block those things out the way. And that's where the kaboom comes from. So when, let's see, what does Ren say? Happening right now, every time I take the bar exam, mad random shit happens. That's a perfect example. That's when you've been studying and doing all this other stuff, and every time you're right about to do this thing or take this test or go to this place or go to this interview, something happens. And sometimes it might be like an internal thing manifesting as an external thing, or it just might seem like shit is happening and you don't know why. So we're going to talk about different magical tools you can use to get around that. So one of the first, so we're going to start easy. We're going to talk about clarity. Now, many of us know, we pretty much, for the most part, we kind of know what is in our way. We know what it is that we're not doing, or we know what our shadow is, whatever the thing that is blocking us. But when it comes to, okay, I want to manifest something really big in the new year. I want to write this book. I want to buy a house. I want to lose weight, whatever that thing is for you. You probably wanted to do this before. Like, this is probably not the first time you've ever wanted to do this thing. And there has been a block somewhere along the line that got in the way. So you might not be, some of you know what happened, but sometimes you might be kind of like, well, I don't really know. I don't really know what's going on. I don't know. And for that, I always start first with a clarity candle. Clarity candles are good for so many things. People use them for romance, kind of like a, does she like me? Does she not like me? Kind of thing, to kind of figure out, should I stay or should I go? But it can also be used for getting clarity on something. Do I go, do I take this path, or do I take another path? Oh, you know what? I didn't bring my candle. Hold on. So clarity candles are represented by the skull. The skull is like head work. We have our heart, that's emotion. Clarity is about putting our head, or letting our head rule the game. Like, deep down, you know what the issue is, but you might not be ready to see it. But when you perform a clarity spell or do a clarity candle, you are telling the universe, your subconscious, I am ready to see the truth. And this kind of work is represented by a skull. So I have in several of my master classes, I offer this as like this paper as like a candle wrap, or you can use a Day of the Dead candle, or you could just even skip it, but just tell the candle that this is for clarity, and you set your intention. But you can also use a skull candle, and these are made to be burned over a period of a few days. So even if you have one of these candles, you don't burn it all in one time. You could like break it down to like 7 days and then burn it over a 7-day period, because they would burn down really quickly on their own. But the whole idea of having a long-term candle spell is that it gives you time for your subconscious to kind of tell you what is going on. So I recommend you have a skull candle, or a plain white candle with a wrap, or just a plain one. This is a 7-day candle. This is the size of a 7-day candle. Sometimes they might burn in like 4 days, but this is the idea. This is the size. And a petition letter. A petition letter is a letter that you write asking for clarity around a particular situation. What do I need to know about this? What do I need to know about this situation? And by putting this into motion, you're asking the universe, your subconscious, for a response. Now, and as I said here, what's most important is that your intentions are specific. Now, the thing about burning a clarity candle is that it removes all the veils, and it does it in a way that you cannot miss the message. And it gives you, so like, you cannot unsee it. Like, once you see something, you're like, oh, you can no longer delude yourself, because sometimes we do that. We're kind of like, we have our little soft underbelly, and we don't really want to know about what happened or why something happened. But once we do a clarity candle, the truth comes out, and in a way that you can no longer go back to being, you can't unsee it. And a clarity spell also gives you the strength to take the necessary steps, whether it's to confront someone or walk away from a relationship. A clarity candle brings truths to light, it brings the dark into the light. But you're sort of, it's not so much that it's forcing it, but you're bringing the light to the situation. And once you see certain things that's going on, you'll decide, you know what, I can't stay in this relationship anymore, or I have to talk to this person. Like it starts to build up within you, but it's so very powerful. And whether or not you like the answer that you receive, you will feel lighter. And it doesn't always have to be like some big dark thing. It might be something like, should I stay in this job, or should I move to this other city to be with this person? You know, that kind of thing. And you can also get positive answers, but it definitely gives you clarity. And as a result of doing the spell, you may feel relief, happiness, anger, or sadness. But whatever the outcome, understand that pushing for clarity is self-care. Once you have your answer, you can move forward with your life. So sometimes when we don't have clarity, we can decide to stay in a relationship, for example, or stay at a job for much longer than we need to. We're just, we're afraid to move forward. We're afraid to leave. But when a clarity candle is performed, the spell is performed, we see the truth. And then we're like, well, I guess I can't stay. Like, you know what? I really understand that this situation is not for my highest good, and it's time to go. So that's a clarity candle. So then we're going to talk about cutting the cords. And I'm going to back up a little bit, but a cutting cord spell looks like this. This white candle is sort of like, and the white candle is like the candle that I use on the altar. It's what I call the work light. It's my work light. When I light that candle on my altar, I'm telling spirit that work is about to begin. This is my work light. And I've seen a friend of mine had a cutting cord spell that she was showing, and she had red candles. And I said, oh, why do you use red candles? She's like, oh, that's all I had. So just to say, the white candle I have so many white candles. I use my white candles on my altar. That's my work candle. So if you don't have white candles, I suppose you could use something else. So there's white candles and there's two black candles. They are tied together by red string or thread or yarn, and they're in a tray filled with cascarilla, which is crushed eggshells. And I have these two candles in these little candle holders, but some people like to just melt the wax and put it straight down on the tray, and that's fine too. Red thread is best. You could use black, but I think red is very symbolic. It's symbolic of this invisible cord between you and this other person. I suppose if you really needed to, you could, but I've only done the cutting cord spell with red. So it's totally thing. Yes, and you can crush the egg yourself. So what I'm going to do before I go through the spell, I'm going to show you my recipe for cascarilla, which is crushed eggshells. Crushed eggshells. Now you can't really see it in the bottom of this plate, but it's crushed eggshells, and it is used as hex breaking, in hex breaking spells. It's used in like separation spells. It's used for protection spells. So I'm going to show you how I can make it, how you can make it. Use white candle. And so can I use white candle instead of a black candle, or is a better color substitute for black candles? Black candles for this, in this example, black candles will really work the best. If you don't have black candles, you can always substitute white. But the black candles are chosen because they absorb negativity. And if you don't have access to black candles, then you take your white candles and you tell them, like, you are in this, you talk to your candles, you talk to your ingredients, and you're saying, you're going to be black candles today. You're going to be black candles because I need you to absorb negativity. This is why I have you here today. So you just tell the candles what you tell those white candles that they are substituting for the black candles. But the whole idea about using black candles is that they absorb and banish negativity. So first I'm going to show you how to make cascarilla. So you can use leftover eggshells, and you use a mortar and pestle or a coffee grinder. So what you do with those eggshells, you rinse them out and allow them to dry completely. And if you don't have a day or so, let them dry naturally. And you could, if you don't have a day or so to let them dry naturally, you can bake them for 200 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes. And then you can grind the eggshells in a mortar and pestle for your desired consistency. Now, also, when they're still wet, when they're still new, they have like a membrane on the inside of them. So if you need to work quickly, you're going to have to try to pull the membrane from inside the egg. But if you have time to let it dry naturally, then you won't have to deal with it. Or, you put it in, let let the eggshells bake in an oven for a few minutes, and then that dries them out, and then you can grind them in a mortar and pestle or a grinder. Now, most people see cascarilla as a powder, and and also by using a powder also makes it last longer. And so you can make the cascarilla powder by grinding the eggshells into a fine powder, and then adding flour. And then what some people do, they will make chalk with the cascarilla. They'll add hot water to it to create a paste, and they'll let it dry. Some people use cascarilla then to create sigils, to write sigils, to make markings on things. So if that is something that you practice, cascarilla would be good for that. If you're going to, you can use like a cascarilla paste or chalk um, to write, uh, to draw protective symbols. That's a really great way to do it. What's the eggshell versus flour ratio? That's a really good question. I think you kind of see for yourself, because like if you grind it really, really small, you can make it stretch out longer. Because I think that's the whole point. You want it to be as fine as possible, and you can also you can add the flour to the mortar and pestle and grind it. And the whole idea with adding the powder is that it stretches it out. The flour add it. Uh, so I say go by sight. I kind of eyeball it, and because it's a mixture, you'll end up using less of the eggshell than you would if it was just straight. So I have some pictures for you. So this is from I made a what do you call one of those things? A reel on Instagram. So picture one, this is there's the eggs, and I actually even have like brown and white egg. Traditionally, they might not use the brown egg, but for my purposes, I did mix them. So you might want to just do straight white, or just go with whatever's handy, because I know that there are also other magical practices that also use crushed eggshells. They don't call it cascarilla, but they use crushed eggs because there is a symbolism there. Now, if you needed some kind of you needed a vegan alternative, there is an actual plant called cascarilla. It's in the Caribbean, and you might be able to find that in a botanica, like one of the spiritual stores. You can find them online at uh, on Etsy. The thing about cascarilla is that it was this plant, and it was like a white powder that came from the plant, but it was harder to source. So magical practitioners began to use eggshells, and then they would add the flour to make it stretch. So this is just also an example of substitutions happening because resources were not always easy. So in box one, picture one, that's me. I'm crushing it. I'm just crushing the eggshells with my hand into a mortar and pestle. And then just a little bit, just so they kind of fit into the mortar and pestle. Picture two, I am grinding the mortar and pestle. I'm the eggshells in the mortar and pestle. And then three, I'm just taking a funnel and I'm putting it in a jar. And that's just only the shells. Like that's not even grinding it and adding powder. You can do that yourself, but I said like eyeball that and see what you like. Because you could take, for example, you see how much is in that jar right now. If I ground it even more so that it was a really fine powder, I could fill the rest of the, I could fill like up to the top of that, or at least like to the, like the curve of that jar with flour. So you can use much more flour than eggshell. I hope that helps. Yeah. So Kaya was asking about the eggshell, Kaya, I'm sorry, the eggshell to flour ratio. So you can use a lots of flour and that will stretch it out. Got it. Okay, thank you. All right. So you make the cascarilla. And then and you just save it for, people also use cascarilla for protection. They use it instead of black salt. Witches have like black salt or witch's salt. They put that in corners of their homes. They line their doorways, windows, places that they want to protect from the outside. Cascarilla or crushed eggshells is used the same way. So this is just another tool you can use. Now, for the cutting cord spell, we're using the cascarilla as a separation element. So the symbolism here is you are represented by one of the black candles, and the thing or the person that you want to separate from, they're represented in the other black candle. And then so we tie them up with a red string, thread, yarn, whatever, and we burn the candles and then we cut them. And I'm going to give you instructions for that. So anyway, but this is just very, very simple and quite elegant, actually. 2 black chime candles. And I guess if you have a taller candle, you could do that. But the reason why we choose a chime candle is because they only take about 2 or 3 hours to burn. You don't have to sit and babysit it, but you might 2 to 3 days, like you don't need a 7-day candle for a cutting cord spell. For this, the symbolism that can happen and the magic can happen in 2 to 3 hours is enough. So, okay, we have the 2 black chime candles, a string of red thread, yarn, or cord, cascarilla, which is like underneath the candles, and scissors. That's all we need. So then we light both of the candles and you place it on a heat-resistant plate with a tray with the cascarilla on the bottom. You read a petition letter aloud. So think about, what do you want to separate from? So you might be so also when it comes to those candles, you can scribe your name onto one of the candles, and you can scribe the name of the person, or if you're doing more than one person, I guess you can kind of, if you have enough space to scribe that onto the other candle. Or if it's something like debt, excess weight, what that thing that you are releasing. This is all about cutting cords. This is about releasing. So it could be a person that you're cutting a cord with, or it could be a thing. Now, I tend to like petition letters because I want to be very clear with myself and the universe. Like, this is what I am letting go of. I am releasing this debt. I'm releasing debt from my life. I am releasing lack mentality from my life. I am releasing fuckboys from my life. Like, I'm making a conscious decision to do something differently. So I prefer to use petition letters in addition to anything I write on there. You might feel a little differently, and the candles might be just enough, especially if you can just like scrawl what you want onto the candle. But I tend to like petition letters because I want to be really clear. So you light both the candles, you read the petition letter aloud, and you visualize your desired outcome. Visualize what you want, not what you don't want. If you are cutting cords with debt, for example, you want to see yourself you want to see yourself feeling good. You want to see yourself feeling free and not unstressed or happy. Keep everything positive. What is your desired outcome? You want to, if you're like cutting cords with weight, then you want to see yourself happy and healthy, at a healthy weight. If you are releasing yourself from a person, seeing yourself maybe moving on, or seeing the both of you happy and separate. So think about what you want to see. Think about your desired outcome, what you want, not what you don't want. So after you feel like, okay, I've read the letter, I can see what it is in my life, I can see the future that I want, you cut that red string with your scissors. Then you allow the candles to burn down. And then, as I said, that's going to be about 2 or 3 hours if you use a chime candle. Then you dispose of the remains away from your home. Okay, so Latanda asks, can anything be used in place of eggshells? If you wanted to find the actual cascarilla, you could try a Botanica. They might have the actual herb because it's a white powder. Um, and if you do go to a Botanica, ask them for sure if they're using the actual herb or if they're using eggshells. Because like if you are vegan, for example, and you want to and your choice is you do not want to use eggshells, then make sure if you're going to buy it from someone that you know how they made it. Okay, so it doesn't have to, no, so Monica, no, it doesn't have to be for just people. You can release things, you can release poverty, you can release debt, you can release fear, you can release like things that are getting in your way. Like if when you have identified, you do the clarity candle, or you already know there are certain things that are in my way. There's I am there's I want to feel the fear and do it anyway, or I want to get rid of fear, or I want to cut the cord with fear so it's not gripping me so tight. That is, so you can use that cutting cord spell for that. Okay. Next up, road opening spells. Now on Sunday, when I was giving the class, I was like, oh, I was going to do cutting spiritual cord cutting and clarity, and then someone said, oh, are you going to do some road openers and blockbusters? And I thought, I wasn't planning to, but since you suggested it, I think I will. So I'm adding some more, and I will try to move quickly because I know we got stuff to do. But before okay, so road opening spells, these are things that will open the way. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes you feel like there are external forces working against you. You might feel like you have what we call crossed conditions or bad luck, like things just aren't working your way. And also, when you're doing, let's say you're doing a spell to attract love or attract money, when you can also use the moon, like the time of the phase of the moon, to work with you in this way. So for example, if you burn a candle, if you do a spell, any kind of ritual, when the moon is new, that is when you're trying to attract love. But when you do a love attraction spell between between the full moon, like after the full moon, like when it's waning, before until it gets to the new moon, that is a waning moon, and that is for releasing obstacles. So sometimes you're like, I'm trying to attract love, but something's just not working. I'm not really feeling confident. I'm not, like something's not working. Then it might be a good time to use the moon in your favor. Use the waning moon to release negativity, to release obstacles, to get rid of obstacles. So road openers can be really helpful. Sometimes we might have to do like a 2-part spell when it comes to attracting, because if we feel like, okay, I've been doing these spells and things aren't working, then that means that there might be a block that needs to be removed. So that's where road opening spells come through, and that's what we're going to be talking about next. Okay, now one of the things I mentioned before was inertia, and I think it was I don't know if it was Nicholas or someone else, Nicholas or Nico, said something about sometimes I just don't feel like it. And I said, that's inertia. You're just like, I could do this, but I just don't feel like it. And that's a valid thing. It's not a laziness, but sometimes it's sort of like like a one of those things we do to protect ourselves. And sometimes we need a swift kick in the butt, but we can give it to ourselves with magic. So I'm going to teach you now the fiery heart candle spell. So this is about a fiery heart. This is great for motivation. This is great for courage. This is for when you are starting something new and you just need to get yourself started. You're like, okay, I'm going to start this diet, but I think I want to wait till next week. Do this candle first, because it has a really great result in like giving you a good kick in the ass. So you can use a plain red candle with this fiery heart seal or candle wrap. If you draw, you could draw it yourself. And if you can also use a plain red candle without the fiery heart seal if you don't have one. What's most important is your intention, and also a petition letter. I'm always good about that petition letter. I want to be more proactive. Allow me to be more proactive in my diet. I'm ready to get my diet started, and sometimes this will be that first step that you need to start that diet, because it's all a mental thing, right? So these candles are working on you. These rituals are to work on you and your energy, so that you can kaboom, but from within. What day of the week? So the other spells, let's see. For clarity, you can do that at any time. Uh, for the cutting cords, I say do that at any time, because also this week I asked people to do a cutting cord spell. I'd say, like, because when you certain things, if you need to do them, you need to do them now. This one you could also do any day, but I recommend that you do them on a Tuesday. Tuesdays, oh, it's today. It's ruled by Mars, the planet Mars, which is like the god of war and action and courage. So for the fiery heart candle spell, this one here, I recommend if you could do it on a Tuesday, that's great. But if you don't have the time to do it today or whatever, still do it, because it's like, if you can't do it the day that it's supposed to be done, do it another day, and it will still work. The energy won't be the same, but it's still better than not doing anything at all. And sometimes all you need is just that little boop, just that little flick to get yourself started. And I have elements and crystals for this fiery heart, because I know I have some crystal people. So herbs that are good, and these aren't the be all and end all, but these are just some that I've chosen. So herbs: borage, black tea, like black tea from your grocery store, masterwort, thyme, and tonka beans. You do not need all of these herbs, but if you have any of them in your apothecary, then by all means try it. So if you have like black tea and thyme, you might have that in your pantry right now. Definitely use that with your fiery heart. But if you don't have any herbs at all, that's fine too. So I include herbs and crystals for my green witches and my crystal witches. So yeah, good to do in threes if you can. B plus today it is then. Yes. Solely, now when you say I struggle with good petition letters, what do you mean by good? Like, it's just for you. It's like your petition just says, I want to release this. I am releasing this from my life. It doesn't have to be a long letter. It could just be, what do you intend to do? It doesn't have to be a long 5-page missive, but just put, I want to release this, or I am releasing this from my life, period. If you want to say why, so that gives you a little extra incentive or justification, you could do that. Yeah, don't say I want, you're right. Like, say I claim, like you're just claiming it. Like, I am releasing this from my life. So yeah, it's not like I want something. You're right, Soli. It's not about I want this. It's like, I'm releasing this. Like, think about it. It is already done. This is the kind of language that you want to do. It's not used. It's not like I need or I want. This is, I release. I'm letting go. Like, this is about this. It is done. We are not negotiating with the universe. We are saying this is what we are doing. What do you do with the petition letter after you read it out loud and the candles are done burning? You can, everyone has a different people like do different things. When it comes to releasing, you can bury the letter, you can burn it, you can flush, you could like burn it into ashes and then flush it. When I'm attracting things, I often like to keep the petition letter, and then when I got it, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, so some form of either like of releasing that petition paper. Oh, that's good. April says, I write my petitions as if I'm talking to one of my friends about the situation. The universe is my friend, so I speak to her the same. That's fantastic. So now also, if you are a crystal person, the crystals here that are great for courage and commitment. This is that fiery heart. bloodstone, carnelian, green aventurine, malachite, pyrite. So these are just different crystals that you can include in your, on your altar with your candle, or however you like to do your spells. I like to give people like choices, and then because I like to be like a chef, like, okay, I got a little of this, a little of that, because I don't know what you have in your pantry or your apothecary. So I want to give people choices. Like, if you have these things, then use them. But if you don't, you use what you have. Let's see. So burning a fiery heart candle, it offers spiritual assistance with courage and commitment. And they are great for motivation. They offer a kick in the backside when you need energy to begin new projects. The fiery heart ritual is good when you're letting go, when you're starting a new habit, or when you need strength to continue. So this is part of the spiritual cord cutting masterclass, this particular candle spell. And I was saying that when you are trying to break a bad habit, you might have a great start, but you might lose steam, or you might feel tempted later on. A fiery heart candle helps you in the long run. It helps you keep your commitment to yourself and keep your commitment to your desire to change. As I said Sunday, like, success doesn't happen in a long, it's never a straight line. You may have 2 steps forward and then have a step back, and that's totally natural. But you can use things like, like a fiery heart candle to get yourself like back in the groove, and to get your motivation back and get that little extra kick. And fiery heart candles are best started on Tuesdays to harness that Mars and energy. But they can also be burned whenever you need it. So as I said, if you can burn some, if you're wanting to do a fiery heart candle, today is a great day to do it. But if you can't, but you can't do anything until tomorrow, still burn it. It's still better than not doing anything at all. Okay. And then let's see, what else do I have for y'all? Fiery heart spells. Okay, so now road opening herbs. So I went looking through my books for natural road opening herbs, and then I actually have a few different things here. So those people, those like practitioners who are who are Latinx may be familiar with the Abre Camino plant, and it's a plant that can be found in herbal botanicas and also in Etsy. And there's also cassia chips, and they're also used in road opening spells. So Abre Camino is the name of a plant. Abre Camino means road opener. I mean, it's really literally that. So if you want to go that route, one of the easier ways to do a road opener spell would be just to get that plant. And you can steep the Abre Camino plant in warm water and use that as a bath or a floor wash. And cassia chips, you can boil that in water and use the tea from boiling the cassia chips in the floor washes in your home. And you can also burn a black candle surrounded by the herb or the cassia chips. I think I mentioned before, I no longer like to load a lot of herbs on my candles. They kind of set fire to things. So what I like to do instead, like, I'll take the candle, I'll put it on a plate, and I'll have the herbs and things around it, like on another plate. And that works just as well. It's still it's like a power base. So that's just something something I like. You're welcome, RJ. So then you can also, if you have a store, if you have a botanica near you, you can also just get store-bought road opening products. So these are different candles. Like 2 of these are Abre Camino candles, or road openers. The 2 on the far right are Blockbusters. And they all have like the same print on them. And it looks like a big block, or like a brick or something, and it's broken. And each of those, and there's it looks like a lightning bolt breaking the block, yeah. And then each of those little captions, you can't really see it, they're talking about different things, whether it's business or love or bad luck, cross conditions. These are just different things you can use. So if you are near a store, the easiest thing you could do is to buy these products that are already set up: baths, floor washes, candles, incense. And because botanicas have been carrying these things for so long, you are benefiting from the established magical tradition that they exist. So if you're thinking like, oh, do they work? Well, they do work because people have been using them for so long. So that's just one way of, if you don't have the time, this is just a really great way to get your road opening thing. But I'm going to show you also how to how 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 to do it yourself. Okay. So if you want to do a DIY kind of road opening, here are here is here are some ingredients that you could use. So oranges are like opportunities, oranges or orange essential oil, Epsom salt that represents purification and protection. Sage is cleansing. Hyssop is cleansing and also purification. And crossroads dirt is basically an intersection. Like and so if there's like a road near you, you could just get like a handful of the crossroads dirt, and you could add that to this mixture. And you can use this mixture in a bath, a floor wash. You can use it with a candle like orange or black, 7-day candle, like, this size. You can make it into an anointing oil. I know some of you like to make oils, like, so if you're going to add it to olive oil is the easy one because it's easy to get, but some of you like almond oil, or you use maybe another kind of carrier oil. You would add these ingredients to that oil, and then you could use that for candles, or you might even anoint yourself. But just make sure if you're using an orange and like any kind of essential oil, make sure before you use it that it's safe to use on your skin, because some oils, they might have something on there, some additive that might not that you might be allergic to. So you can also take these ingredients and burn them on a charcoal tablet as incense. So if you're feeling like I really just need to clean everything out, you could just do everything. You could say, okay, first I'm going to wash my house. I'm going to wash the floor. Then I'm going to take a bath, and I'm going to take a road opening bath. I'm going to burn a candle also with some of these herbs, herbs and spices, and I'm going to burn some incense. Like, you could really just go, like, if you really feel that you are really seriously blocked and you need to get stuff out, I highly recommend layering, using these different herbs and spices in multiple methods. Let's see. Blockbusters. Now, difference between a road opener and a blockbuster is, a blockbuster, in my experience, will just be like, that's really, for me, that's a kaboom. I feel like blockbusters are kaboom. And for certain situations, blockbusters can really come in handy. Let's see, where'd it go? Road opening, blockbusters. Okay, so there are herbs that you can use for blockbusting. So let's say you're going through a situation and it feels like nothing is working, but it's like it's really seriously not working, and you feel like there is a huge obstacle that I cannot see getting in my way. This is when a blockbuster can help. And so herbs that are used in a blockbusting ritual or spell, candle, yes, like employment, totally, Moyen. If you're feeling like, there's a situation and it's just like, but keep in mind with the blockbuster, things change, it explodes things a little bit, and then things have to calm down a little bit, but then they'll work themselves out. So for example, years ago, I was really tight for money. I was living by myself, and I had a job, but I was just barely making, like, I was making exactly what I need. I lived in New York City. So I lived in Brooklyn, actually, and it's very expensive to live there, right? So I was working and making only a little bit more than my rent. So I didn't have much money to live on. I didn't, like food, things like the things that you need. I was really struggling. So I could pay my rent, but not much else. And this was going on month after month and month after month. And then I was like, oh my God, what do I do? So I went and bought a store-bought Blockbuster bath or something. I think it was called La Bamba, the Bomb. And I took the bath and, I did my spell. And the craziest thing happened. My landlord said to me, oh, Carla, I need you to move. I was like, what? Because he was taking like his apartment building was getting renovated and he and his family needed a place to move. And the way it was set up, he could easily kick me out. I mean, like he gave me notice and everything, but I had to find another place to live. And here I was saying, I don't even have any money to do that. I like, where the hell would I go? But what ended up happening was my boyfriend at the time, he's like, well, you can move in with me. So I ended up saving a lot of money in the long run because I moved in with him, but I did not see that coming. And so I say all of this to say, when you do a Blockbuster, things will get busted up. And then when the dust settles, you'll be in a better place. But sometimes it's like a little bomb in your life. Yeah, right now I'm in a never-ending cycle. Nothing is moving at the moment. Will this work? Yes, it will work. But like I said, if you're going to use a Blockbuster, there's going to be a little bit of a kaboom in your life, and then when the dust settles, the road will definitely be open. But if you want to try a road opener first, try a road opener. Try a road opener, or perhaps try the fiery heart spell. Like if you just need for you to get moving, like if it's something like you feel like it's internal, or maybe there's something that you yourself could do if you had more of that like Mars energy to get an idea to, oh, okay, I need to do this thing. I need to start this project. And that would be the thing that creates movement. If that doesn't work, you can also, so these are just different methods you could use. You could do that fiery heart candle to get you moving, to get you, because sometimes we need to be the one that makes that motion. And then when we move, the universe will move with us. Or if you feel like the roads are kind of like blocked, or you're feeling like there's a whole bunch of obstacles, then a road opener is just, okay, it'll remove obstacles for you. But if you feel like you are just up against it, that is when the Blockbuster will come in handy. So, but this isn't something to play with. This is like when you're like, okay, I really need this. So these are the herbs: Master of the Woods, Five Finger Grass, High John the Conqueror, lemongrass, and mint. So if you can get all of these, I would recommend it. You can use these herbs in a bath, in a floor wash. You can use them to dress candles. And again, I recommend a black or orange 7-day candle. This is a 7-day candle size. You can make it into an anointing oil if you make oils, and or you can burn these herbs on a charcoal tablet as an incense. So this is the Blockbuster. So this is like that ba ba ba. So Jamil says I need to do one of those now. Yeah, and sometimes we really need the Blockbuster can really come in handy, because when we're like, okay, I don't have a lot of time. I need things to change. This will give you that change. So then next, what else do I have for you? Someone, I don't know if it was B plus, it was either B plus or Ayana on Sunday. They had asked me the question, since I was talking about protecting your, oh, hey, B plus, was talking about, since session 2 was about protecting your intention. Someone said, oh, are you going to teach us something about protection itself? And I was like, well, in this regard, I'm teaching how to protect yourself by you putting out boundaries between you and people that aren't supportive, or people who are, who have it out for you, or people, or like debt, like protecting yourself by cutting those cords. But since she had mentioned that, I thought having a DIY spell for fiery wall of protection incense would also be very powerful. So a fiery wall of protection incense, you can also use this like with oil, if you wanted to use it with a candle. If you're, you're, whatever it is that you want to manifest, we're saying that, you want to protect it from people who won't be supportive, or people who, so the first line of protection is to keep your mouth shut. Like, don't be talking about all the things that you want to do, because not everyone is looking out for you. Not everyone is rooting for you. So the first line of defense is keeping your mouth shut and not putting your biz in the streets. But when the time comes when you are, doing some things that are, yeah, exactly, boom, shut up, exactly. That's your first line of defense. Keep your mouth shut. Don't put your business in the streets. But if there's certain situations where you do want to add a layer of protection onto your activities, fiery wall of protection would be a good tool to use. So there are dragon's blood incense, frankincense, and myrrh. These are resin. These are resins. They're resin incense. So they're like kind of, they look like kind of rocks. And you add Himalayan salt, and you burn a small amount. Someone was they were talking about burning frankincense the other day, and they're like, it was smoking up their whole house. So just a little bit of each of those, a little dab will do you, as my grandmother used to say. Add a little red Himalayan salt. You burn a small amount of these each together on a charcoal tablet in a mini cauldron. And, you could pray or say your intention. And you can if you have like if you want to have your intention as a candle, represented by a candle, then you would just burn the incense alongside it so that it is protected. You could also probably mix this into an oil, and then anoint the candle that's representing your intention with these elements as well. So that's just something else you could do. This is wall of protection. Maria asked, so this is for, so someone had asked on Sunday about, well, since you said, we're protecting our manifestations, are we doing anything for protection? And I said, the main protection that I was originally offering was to protect yourself from things like debt or poverty, or people who are unsupportive, by you cutting cords with people that you don't want in your life anymore. And that works well, or they said, like, being quiet and not talking about everything that you're doing. But there are cases, I would imagine, where having a wall of protection around your dream could be very important. So this DIY fiery wall of protection incense is for that. Hope that helps. And then also, you will get a recording of this, so you can also like watch this again and again. So finally, the other way to protect yourself is to start or join an intention circle. So we were talking about that. When you are on your road, on your path, it's so important to be with people who are supportive of you. And you can be with people who are like-minded, and to have community support for your goal. You can have a law of attraction vortex, because it's so important when you're around people who are like, oh yeah, I really believe in you, and yes, you're going to make that happen, you got this. It's so important. And have group manifestation rituals. So for example, yesterday was the winter solstice, and I offered a winter solstice ritual on my Facebook, on Instagram, as well as like YouTube. But for the people who purchased the Intention Intensive Challenge, we did a live group manifestation challenge, a group manifestation ritual. So that's something that you might want to think about. So when you are going forward with creating your intention for the new year, being a part of a circle of like-minded people who support you, what you're doing, is very powerful. So again, I just want to let everyone know that I am offering my Intention Intensive class. That starts on January 23rd through 24th. It's going to be two days of live sessions talking about preparing your intention, protecting your intention, planning to receive, and a live group manifestation ritual. So again, like yesterday, it'll be a manifestation ritual where everyone is working together to put their goals out there. And oh, thank you, April. She said it was so wonderful yesterday too. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And then some of you might want personalized help with the rituals. You might like, well, I'm trying to figure out how to do this particular thing. Can you help me? That is where I would be happy to step in and offer you, personalized help. spell prescriptions, because I love to do that. When someone says, hey, I want to do this thing, or do you know how to do a road opener, like someone asks, I'm like, okay, sure, let me see. I go into my book of shadows, and I love to share. Like, some people don't like to share their stuff, but what I like to do when I'm teaching spells and rituals, I want to tell you why I chose what I chose. And there are times when you may be able to substitute things, and I want to teach you how to do that yourself. I'm not trying to make you dependent on my recipes. I want to teach you how to make your own. And then also, I like to have fun. I like to have music, so there's also a manifestation power playlist, so everyone is like, oh yeah, so when you're working on your personal magic, it's kind of fun to have a magical playlist. So let's see, what are we at? So yesterday we had the winter solstice manifestation ritual. And in addition, if you did want to get this intention intensive class, there's also a whole bunch of free master classes. Those of you who have taken this over the years, it feels like a year this year, over this year, you know what it's like. So there's Candle Magic 101, Shadow Work Magic, Ultimate Love Magic, Prosperity Magic, Spiritual Cord Cutting Masterclass. You will get that as part of this workshop. Then I also have a 90-day moon planner. Next week, we're going to be talking about, in next week's challenge, we're going to be talking about how to plan to receive using the moon and astrology. So that you're going to get your own planner. And then there's, of course, an intention intensive Facebook group. So this is all about getting all of your intentions together. But just like we're doing for these 3 weeks, it's just going to be like intensive weekend of live workshops. Thank you. Tiana says, I concur. This experience has been amazing. Looking forward to the workshop sessions. And so am I. So all of these things here are, they're worth more than $1,000. I mean, they are. This is a lot of cool stuff I'm giving away. But for you, this week, actually, I think I might extend it another week. I'm going to offer this whole big, wonderful smorgasbord of stuff for $97. And if you want to get that, this is the early bird price because it didn't start till January. queenupclub.com/early is where you can get that. And let's see, I'm going to go over session 2 assignment for next week's, for this Sunday's class, and then we'll do Q&A. So for those of you who want to, so if you need to leave now, because it's 2:02, feel free to go, but we will be doing a Q&A. But if you do want to do the intention intensive, you want to sign up for that, this week you can get it for $97. The full price will be $197, but for you, you can get it for $97 at queenupclub.com/early. So the assignment for the week, this is for between now and this Sunday. Choose one main intention. And some of you have emailed me earlier this week about should I do this thing or this thing? And I understand some things, they feel kind of like, well, I could do one or I could do the other, and I don't know which one should be the main intention. Do your best to choose the main one. You don't have to have only one. Like when you are working on your vision board, for example, you don't have to have only one thing on there. You can have your other intentions on there, but it's just try to do your best to find one that you will lead with, and define your why. What is your why? Why do you want to do this thing? Why do you want to write a book? Why do you want to have a baby? Why? You know what it is, but I want you to think about it and to define it to yourself, because when the shit hits the fan, when things aren't going the way we want, because remember I said success is not a straight line, you want to remember why you are doing this. And then ask yourself who or what needs to be released from your life. And I would like you to perform perform a cord cutting or a clarity ritual. If you can do that between now and Sunday, that will get you started. And please come to the Marie Lazeau Queen Up group on Facebook and share your progress. Like, people have been sharing their intentions. They've been sharing their their vision boards, and it's so exciting to see, you know, and people are asking questions about how to tighten up their intention and what they want. So this is such a great thing. So you don't have to get the intention intensive class to get the benefit from this, but it will definitely be more of a like a cohesive, deeper dive into getting your manifestation in the new year. So I hope that you all are getting ready to do some kind of cord cutting or clarity ritual if needed this week, and you know, let us know in the group, in the Marie Laveau Queen Up group, you know, how is that going for you? Because, you know, I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. So we're gonna do some Q&A, and I'm going to turn the recording off, and we will keep going. So if you want to go, thank you so much for showing up, and I will see you, you know, inside the group and on Instagram and Facebook and, you know, all the usual places. Okay, stop recording.